Hey, welcome back, Sons of Russ. This is Nick from Beer and Bat Reps, and today we're looking at Ulrik the Slayer. This model came and went without me ever purchasing it, and I regret it now that I'm taking a closer look at it. It is covered in detail, it is stoic, it is epic. We're going to go through his rules, his lore, we're going to go through stratagems and ways that you can run him, ways that I personally would run him if I had him in my list, and we'll take a look at the model too, and let's start with that. The cloak is incredible. Blowing out to the side, good stance. He kind of has the HQ stance where he's not there to fight. He's in the background. He's giving orders. Just looking great. It really reminds me of the fantasy dwarf king growing up, or Thane, and he was leaning on his two-headed axe, and his beard is hanging down. I really wish I had the picture, but I don't have it. If any of you remember that model, it basically looks like this, just a dwarf, and not 40k, obviously. The bearded mustache with the bald head give me a real, I don't know, just old, stoic, almost Scottish look. Got the great horns right above his head on his back panel going out. Those look great. I always like painting horns and tusks. The symbol above that, though, I'm pretty sure that's Logan's great company. And then he's got his Crozius Arcanum, but I know it's a little bit stronger. It has like an extra AP, but we'll go over stats here in a little bit. He's got seemingly Ragnar's symbol on his knee, so maybe he bounces around. I personally don't know his fluff, but we're going to read it here in a minute. I really like the horn on his belt. That kind of sets him apart because most of the other characters have the wolf pelt and the wolf tail talismans hanging all over him, but he has this epic Viking horn, which is awesome. And then we move on to my favorite part about the old model, which was the helmet, the epic wolf skull helmet that was actually kind of intimidating looking. It really makes you wonder how he fits his head and mustache and beard into that helmet, but I don't remember it having that huge diamond in the middle of it, the forehead though. So maybe you got some upgrades. Let's take a look at the back of the model. So about what we'd expect, I do like the two wolf skulls coming out on either side of the backpack. It looks pretty great. The fluffy wolf pelt behind the backpack, but in front of the cloak, will be really nice for dry brushing and highlighting. That'll really make the model pop. I like the cloak a lot. That'll be fun to paint. I'll probably do sort of a gold edge where all the braids, the little Viking braids along the edge of it is. I'll do some kind of royal golden cloth of some kind. Overall, though, I like it. It's, it's not Primaris, so it's not proportioned the way I like it. I like the taller Primaris models, but if you were going to go non-Primaris, a lot of these special characters just really look good. I'm sure he's fine cast, which we all have our issues with fine cast. Whether you don't like painting it or assembling it, you hope for a model that's not warped. This looks pretty good. I'd give it a B+. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty cool looking, and not every day you get like a back of the battlefield tactician stance on one of your named characters. So let's dig into this lore a little bit.
Ulrik the Slayer is the mentor of some of the greatest leaders the Space Wolves chapter has ever seen. He is the oldest of all Space Wolves, barring the noble dreadnoughts, and his beard is as white as the slopes of Azahheim. Ulrik is older even than Logan Grimnar, who has fought in the name of the Emperor for 700 years. It was during the First War for Armageddon that Ulrik first won renown fighting in the Wolf Guard of Lord Kruger's great company. Kruger and his men stormed into the invading companies of World Eaters, meeting the bloodthirsty traitors with equal fury, for the fruit of betrayal is terrible wrath. Kruger himself was cut down, and though Ulrik had lost his own blade in the desperate close-quarter battle, he leapt to defend his dying wolf lord, killing the 3 hulking World Eater berserkers that had laid Kruger low in a bloody melee. Ulrik fought like a thunderwolf that day, inspiring his battle brothers and even earning the unusual accolade of a grim salute from the Lord of the World Eaters himself. Eventually, the Imperium emerged victorious. The following day, Ulrik was renamed the Slayer, and elected by his fellow Wolf Guard as Kruger's replacement at the head of the great company. Astonishingly, Ulrik turned down the honor. Though such a refusal was all but unheard of, the Slayer believed he was born to fight, not command. Ulrik instead accepted the rank of Wolf Priest, and before the century was out, it became obvious that his true genius was in the selection and training of new recruits. He was a veteran of so many wars that his tactical and martial knowledge was invaluable, and his natural charisma made him an excellent mentor. In recent years, however, Ulrik has become ever more aggressive on the battlefield, swearing great oaths to cut down the most deadly of enemies in the name of the Emperor without a care for his own safety. As High Priest of his order, Ulrik has made gifted the sacred wolf helm of Russ, said to have once been worn by his Primarch. This is both a potent symbol of the chapter's honor and an arcane artifact that instills fear into those under its gaze. When he goes to war, Ulrik the Slayer is a terrifying figure indeed, resplendent in his black armor and hefting a crackling Crozius arcanum that acts as his badge of office. His mere presence inspires all Space Wolves to greater acts of valor. When it comes to advice, something for which the sage of old wolf priest is frequently consulted, Ulrik is an unrepentant traditionalist. He will always defer to the old ways, often referencing the sagas of Russ himself. Okay, so first thing to point out about Ulrik the Slayer is he is 110 points and 6 power level. I have the newest errata pulled up from GW, the new field manual of points, and he stayed at 110. So, not exactly the cheapest. You expect a chaplain type that's not Primaris to be like 70 points, not 110, but let's get into these stats and see if he's worth it. So movement 6, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 2, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 5, attacks 4, leadership 9, save 3+. He's equipped with plasma pistol, artificer Crozius, frag grenades, crack grenades. You can only have one Ulrik the Slayer. So his plasma pistol, you know it, it's very normal. Now the artificer Crozius has an extra AP. It's strength +2, AP -2, and damage 2. So if you know a lot about Warhammer, whether it's AOS or 40k, if you can hit that -2 AP, flat 2 damage, that's a real sweet spot in Warhammer. Even in AOS, -2, flat 2, it's gross. In 40k, -2 is not as dangerous, but so many people have invuls that you might -2 and -3 aren't that different because people have invuls. -2 flat 2. That's a nice setup. So he's got 4 attacks, 5 in the first round of combat because he's a Space Marine. If it's round 3 or further, he'll have exploding 6s because he's a Space Wolf at strength 6, -2 flat 2. So nothing insane, but still nice numbers. He'll be good at carving through Primaris, or even regular Marines have 2 wounds now, so he'll be pretty good at that as well. Not too great against hordes or really big tough models. So he's kind of right in the middle. His abilities, Angels of Death, so all the normal ones for Marines. He also has the Wolf Helm of Russ. It's an aura. While a friendly Space Wolf core unit is within 9 inches of this model, models in the unit can use his leadership instead of their own. It's pretty good. I mean, leadership 9. He can hand out leadership 9. That's not bad. You would think, as the High Priest, he would have leadership 10. Why not just give him leadership 10? It's like they save leadership 10 just for Necrons. You just don't see it. Slayer's Oath. If an enemy character or monster model is destroyed by an attack made by this model, then until the end of the game, do not roll to see if litanies recited by this model are inspiring. They're automatically inspiring. Okay. So if you can somehow get him to a character or monster, and you can kill him, he just auto does his litanies. That's pretty cool. I like that. It might be hard to do, but since he's not Primaris, he's an old school Marine, you can fit him in more different types of vehicles, or drop pods, or flyers, or things like that to get him there quicker. That being said, he's not that punchy, so killing a monster would be pretty hard, but killing a character might not be. He has a wolf amulet, so he has a 4+ invulnerable save. Alright, so Priest. This model knows the Litany of Hate and 2 other litanies from the Litanies of Battle. In your command phase, if this model is on the battlefield, it can recite 2 litanies it knows that have not already been recited by a friendly model that battle round. Roll a d6. On a 3+, the recited litany is inspired and takes effect until the start of your next command phase. So he can do 2 litanies a turn. That's pretty good. Normally you would have to be the upgraded chaplain. The Master of Sanctity to be able to do 2. In which case you're getting up near 100 points anyway. So that's where a lot of his points are going into. I don't think a lot of his 110 points are with the Helm of Russ handing out that leadership. Like, that's all right. Slayer's Oath is all right, but it's debatable how easily you're going to be able to do that. But 110 I don't know. We'll have to think about this. Let's take a look at the different litanies and what would work best for him and a Space Wolf army, and in particular, my Space Wolf army. All right, so the default prayer, Litany of Hate, is a 6-inch aura of rerolling all melee hit rolls, not just misses, for your chapter core or chapter character units. So, good old reroll bubble. It's almost like a chapter master reroll bubble. They've always kind of had this every edition. They give you that bubble of rerolling all your hits. It's good. Now it only affects core, which, take it or leave it, a lot of your units are not core. Thankfully, in my army, dreadnoughts are core. So this works pretty well with dreadnoughts. My dreadnoughts also hit on 2s, though, in combat. So a reroll, not always needed, because I usually have either Bjorn or Ragnar there to give them reroll 1s anyway. So if you have 2s rerolling 1s, you don't really need Litany of Hate. So let's move on to the next one, Litany of Faith. This one I could see some definite use for. It is a 6-inch aura of 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds for core and character units. So it doesn't stack with any other type of Feel No Pain. Normal rule there. But if your meta has tons of spellcasters like Thousand Suns, Tzeentch Demons, all the main psychers, Grey Knights with their flat 2 damage, smites, that type of stuff, then Litany of Faith could be very, very important. That being said, it's going to force you to castle up. A lot of this forces you to castle up, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's really bad. Sometimes you don't want to be a big block, because in 9th edition, there are lots of objectives, and primary objectives are key to winning, and they are all over the field. So castling up is not necessarily a great thing. Take a look at my AdMech army. It castles up, it destroys everything, and then by the end of the game, you start to realize, man, I really didn't have enough mobility, and I'm going to lose because of the primary objectives. Next, you have Catechism of Fire. It is a select 1 unit that is either core or character within 6 inches, and they get +1 to the roll to wound when they're shooting against the closest enemy unit. It also affects Overwatch, which is nice. This is a main one people use in 8th. +1 to wound roll is pretty insane, but it has to be the closest unit. So if your opponent is smart and they see a chaplain, they're probably going to put their chaff in front so that you're not getting +1 to wound against like Imperial Knights or Lemon Russ. You're going to be getting it against Imperial Guard. So good, not great. Next one is Exhortation of Rage. It's another select a unit within 6 inches, and they get +1 to wound rolls in melee. This is very strong, but you're hitting on 2s, and then you get your whatever type of weapons you have. I don't know. It's really dependent on your list. It's really, really dependent on your list. My list, in particular, wounds on 2s already. So it's not really affecting me too much. If I'm playing against like Knights, sure, I'll take a +1 to wound. But honestly, I'm winning against Knights anyway. Knights are pretty low on the table there. Next one's Mantra of Strength. This is just to buff himself. So if you can imagine the stats we just went through with Ulrik the Slayer, and then add +1 attack, strength, and damage, suddenly he's at strength 7 with 6 attacks and damage 3. So you can kind of make a Smash Chaplain build, which is something people actually do. They slap a jetpack on a Chaplain, or the new Chaplain on a bike. You give him Mantra of Strength, and you just set him loose. I think Ulrik could do all right with this. It's just hard to get him there. He only moves 6 inches, so you have to have a lot of different ways to get him to combat. The next one is Recitation of Focus. It is a 6-inch, +1 to your hit rolls when shooting. You select 1 unit. They get +1 to their hit rolls when shooting. This is always going to be strong. People love this one. It's a great way to turn my Leviathan Dreadnought back to how he used to be, hitting on 2s like he's supposed to be. That's all right. It's another one that's strong. I mean, a lot of these are strong, guys. You just have to roll a 3+, and you can't re-roll it. It's 1 3+. So, I don't know. There's way more ways to manipulate psychic tests where you can get similar results that a chaplain gives you, but a psychic test is way easier to manipulate because you can re-roll with a command point, and you have different abilities that help it out. With this, it's just a single 3+. Yes, your opponent can't stop it, but a lot of games you're going to see that you just fail this on 2 of your 5 turns, and it can be very frustrating. The last one is Canticle of Hate. It's my personal favorite. It's a 6-inch aura of +2 to your charge rolls and +3 to your pylon and consolidation moves. Now, this won't stack with anything else that gives you this, such as Ragnar's Consolidation Pylon, but man, +2 inches to your charge rolls is amazing. Now, keep in mind, you have to do this at the beginning of the turn. So you can't hit a Deep Striker with this. because they come in after he does this. You basically have to be ready to rock the turn before. I mean, you do it and then you move and then you get plus to your charge. So it's still super helpful. Like I run it with my White Scars Terminator army because advancing and charging with a +2 to your charge. I want those Terminators in combat as fast as possible. With this army, this is the one I could see being used the most because it's not a select one unit. It's a 6-inch bubble. So he moves up behind all the Wolfen Dreadnoughts. They have rerollable charges, and suddenly they have +2 to their charge with rerollable charges. And just to get them in. Well, first let's talk about this. So if it were my army, I would take Canticle of Hate, that last one, for +2 to charge. And then honestly, I'd take Recitation of Focus for +1 to hit rolls. And I'd slap that on a Leviathan Dreadnought or a Redemptor Dreadnought to be hitting on 2s. That being said, I also have a new Warlord in the works who is a Primaris Tech Marine. And he gives another vehicle +1 to hit. So I could see how this next to him, I could slap 2 Redemptors and have them both hitting on BS 2+, which is nice. I'm not going to lie, that sounds really tasty. But I just don't see how 110 points is worth it. That being said, let's take a look at the stratagems and see which ones work really well for him. So the main thing I want to point out with the stratagems is you start to realize that there are stratagems that do the same thing that his litanies do, which in my mind makes him more and more obsolete, at least for his point cost. You have Savage Strike stratagem, 1 CP for +1 to wound, just like his litany can do. You have Relentless Assault stratagem for 1 CP, consolidate an extra 3 inches, just like one of his litanies does. So you start to see, like, yes, you could do his litanies and this for an army that gets that bonus multiple times, which is cool. But I don't know, for 110, I'm really just thinking, man, that's like one less dreadnought in my list. Do I really want to lose a whole dreadnought for his bonuses? Or for 20 more points, you could get Ragnar, who's just a force of destruction on the battlefield. So it's something you'll really have to think about, guys. If you love chaplains and their game mechanic, then by all means, go for Ulrik. He's pretty awesome. But keep in mind, you can get like a Primaris chaplain for like 75 points instead of 110. So just something to think about, but let's go through these. So obviously you have all the individual character stratagems from the Space Marine Codex book that all work for him, which is great. You have the individual character stratagems from the Space Wolf book, which are all good. Make him hit harder, make him, buff himself even more, which, there's better people to do that with, obviously. But the one that stands out that is made specifically for Wolf Priests and Ulrik is called Healing Balms. It's 1 CP. Use this stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Select 1 Space Wolf infantry, biker, or cavalry from your army within 3 inches of a friendly Space Wolf priest to be healed. That model regains up to D3 lost wounds. Each model can only be healed once per turn. So, what always set the chaplains of the Space Wolves apart from other chaplains is that they were also the apothecaries. They were always both. They had the rules of the apothecaries and the chaplains all built into one, which was great and really set them apart and made them unique and made them really worth bringing. But now it's just a stratagem and you can't bring them back to life. It's just heal D3. That being said, 1 CP to heal D3 could be great, but it only works on infantry, biker, or cavalry. So if you want to follow around Ragnar to heal Ragnar, that's fine. But what you find is that Ragnar does a ton of damage and then dies in 1 shooting phase. So it's not really going to be that helpful, in my opinion. He could follow some aggressors around and heal some aggressors. He could follow some eradicators around, buff them, give them +1 to hit, heal them as they get wounded. I just think there are better ways to spend your points, guys. So obviously, if you've listened to this far, you've realized I've been kind of negative towards him. I think his model is incredible. I think it's like a very detailed, stoic, epic-looking model. I do wish he had more of this helmet that we're looking at right now because it's so intimidating. But I get they wanted to show him without his helmet with his cool mustache and mutton chops. I just personally believe there are better ways to spend 110 points, whether that's characters that cost only a little bit more that are way, way better, or dreadnoughts, or, a unit of outriders for a few more points than this guy. There's just better ways to spend your points, in my opinion. You don't want to go too character heavy in 9th edition, and they kind of made it so it's hard to go character heavy in 9th edition. and everything's so objective based that you really don't want to go character heavy, because then you're just a ball of heroes that have trouble grabbing objectives. So I would keep it to the named heroes that you know are the backbone of your army that can break the back of the opponent army, such as Bjorn, Ragnar, Murderfang, possibly Arjak Rockfist. There's so many named characters that we're bound to find someone that, in my opinion, is kind of a dud. That being said, you could really have a lot of fun with this guy based on your list. So I would love to hear from you guys. As always, chime off in the comments if you use him, if you've been successful with him, if you believe that I am just totally wrong and he's super point efficient, and please explain why so we can all learn together. Guys, I always miss things. If I missed any stratagems that are obvious and I should have been talking about it, please tell us in the comments so we can all learn together, because we are all the Sons of Russ and we all need to get better so that the Wolfkin can win on the table more often. This is Nick from Beer and Bat Reps. We will be back very soon. I have a new warlord I am painting up that I am so excited about to lead my dreadnoughts into battle. Until next time, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, stick with us. Battle reports are coming. Hope everyone's safe out there during the pandemic. And until next time, cheers.